UFC Vegas 95 just recently wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire card, starting with the first fight of the night and working my way all the way up to the main event. So make sure you guys smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We're jumping right into it. Started the card off. It was ladies going after it. Stephanie Luciano had a breakout performance against Talita Alencar. She completely dominated Alencar, outstruck her for the entire fight. Fended off takedown. She was taken down one time and immediately bounced back up to her feet. Alencar had no answer for the distance, for the takedown defense. Alencar's striking is pretty rudimentary. She doesn't really have combinations. It's more like flurries or just one shot at a time. And it's kind of slappy. She's obviously not a high caliber kickboxer. Luciano, and this is going to be an intense comparison, she looked like a female Sean O'Malley. She has the same kind of flow as he does. Picks her shots well, extremely good footwork. Now, she's only 24 years of age, but I think the ceiling is incredibly high. This was obviously a rematch, and last time out, Alencar had some success with pressure grappling. Now, missed on a lot of takedowns then, but still was able to win the first two rounds, and obviously a 10-8 in the third, and they ended up having a draw. This time, she got completely shut out. Luciano looked fantastic. Luciano dominated every aspect of this fight. And I think that Stephanie Luciano is somebody to watch. At just 24 right now, the potential that she has is crazy high. For Alencar, takes an L. She's not going to get released from the UFC or anything like that, but definitely not, up-and-coming prospect caliber. I mean, her fight IQ was abysmal as well. She wasn't shooting enough. She was so scared of fatiguing that she didn't shoot a lot of takedowns. I know she failed on a decent enough amount, but she waited. Like the first round, she just kickboxed with the kickboxer. It made no sense to me watching. And even her single leg entries were so sloppy, man. It was just a dominant display. Luciano made Alencar fight scared, and I think Alencar just wanted to survive to the final bell. She was getting beaten up bad. Some nice knees, some big punches. She got busted open. Luciano dominated. She looked fantastic. Big W, Luciano. And at 24, keep your eye on this girl. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we had Youssef Zalal versus Jarno Errens. This was an awesome performance for Youssef Zalal. The striking was getting going, and Zalal looked a little bit quicker than Errens, but with that Dutch kickboxing style, you got to be fearful of the power shots. Errens hits really hard, and, he swung some hard shots, didn't really land anything clean. Zalal was slick and calculated on the feet, but when they got to the mat, when Zalal engaged the grappling, when he was able to find the back, Errens makes a mistake. He stands up. I thought this was an abysmal error. Standing up with Zalal on his back with a body triangle. Now you're even more fatigued. You're no longer just fighting the hands off, using the cage to try and force a way out, which is not easy to do because that body triangle, when guys are good at it with long legs like Zalal has, is hell. You ain't getting out of it. But still, the strategy to stand like that was a horrible fight IQ move. Errens stands up, and then Zalal is working on cranking the face, eventually locks it in. Youssef Zalal looked really good. He just tapped out in the fight previously. Billy Q, who's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu, bro. A legit quality grappler. Errens is, pretty much just a kickboxer. So Zalal to get a submission when it got to the mat was fabulous. And I really think he's got a lot of potential. After the fight, he did the interview. Surprisingly high-pitched voice for Zalal. A little bit, right? Just a little bit higher than you would have anticipated. I didn't think it was going to be that. And I've heard interviews before. I don't know why I forgot. Funny. But I like Zalal. Good dude. And he's talking about moving up to championship. I think he needs to cool his jets a tad. I don't think he's ready for Dan Ige just yet or Edson Barboza just yet. But there are big fights that are on the horizon for him. And I definitely feel as though in 18 months, he could fight in the top 15. I mean, he welcomed Ilia Topuria to the UFC and still went distance. And that one, he wasn't nearly as good back then. He's gotten a lot better. So respect to Zalal. Good performance. Quick win. And as it should have been. Quick, easy, dominant. Good win by Youssef Zalal. Errens, probably getting released. Next fight on the card, Jhonata Diniz versus Karl Williams. I told you guys, bro. I was in the minority, okay? Look at that, 34% on Diniz. I picked Diniz to win this fight. And I actually did anticipate a knockout, though. I thought he'd sleep Karl Williams. But instead, he technically outstruck Williams for the vast majority of the fight, causing Karl Williams to not really engage for takedowns. Williams was caught up in a kickboxing match, and he was trying to shoot for a couple takedowns in the first 2 rounds, but was easily stuffed away. And it seems like he couldn't even find his flow to shoot. Now, in the 3rd round, Diniz is damaging Williams brutally, destroyed the lead leg of Williams, touching him with big shots, has him absolutely rocked. Karl Williams is a better wrestler when he is absolutely blasted out of his mind from big punches buzzing him than he is when he's just shooting regularly. He needs to be rocked to land takedowns. When he was rocked, he panic wrestled and he was successful. He got Diniz down and he finished the fight on top. But it wasn't enough to win. I don't even feel like it was enough to steal the round. Diniz had done some serious damage, and Williams landed a couple of ground and pound shots. But looking at it, a significant portion of the ground and pound that Williams was throwing was blocked by Jhonata Diniz. So this was a good win for Diniz to go out and look calm. Big aspect of his game is his calmness. At 8-0, to go, majority of the fight without getting taken down by Williams, who's a pretty good wrestler and definitely a guy with a good gas tank. I thought this was a big W for Diniz. He's definitely a dangerous fight for a lot of strikers. I have no idea what direction they're going in with Diniz next, but I definitely feel as though, as thin as the heavyweight division is, if he can get 1 or 2 more wins, he might get jumped up to the top 15. I'm kind of curious to see him versus like a Marcos Rogerio de Lima at 100, at the top 15 at 185. What am I talking? At 205, 265. What am I saying? 265. De Lima's heavyweight. It's just, I would worry about him in that fight. I don't know how high level he can get. Like, imagine he fought a Mick Parkin. I think Mick, you know what? That's the fight. Fuck it. Mick Parkin, Jhonata Diniz. I'm curious to see it. I know they're going to kill one prospect, so they might not do it. I mean, they already did it with Williams here, but maybe they won't. If they do, though, it's an interesting fight because Parkin's a good kickboxer for MMA, but he's also a little bit more offensively well-rounded in the grappling than Diniz. But Diniz's defense looks fantastic. So good win for Diniz. Essentially turned Karl Williams into a kickboxer until the very end, and he outstruck him. Quality performance. He's definitely got some big power in those hooks. Landed some clean shots and rocked Williams. And we got to give Williams his praise. Dude's got a chin because he ate some really big punches. Next fight on the card. Karol, Rosa, Pannie, Kianzad. I actually think this was the breakout performance for Karol Rosa. She's been in the UFC a while. What's her UFC record? She's 7-3. Really good UFC record. Has been in the UFC all the way since what? 2019. So she's been around a while. And she's lost some matches like Sarah McMahon, Norma Dumont, Irene Aldana. But the way that she beat up Pannie Kianzad, it really has shown her improvement. At 29, she's in her prime now. And even her last fight, when she lost to Aldana, I really thought that she has shown some improvement to her skill set. So I was excited to see her here. And, obviously I was talking a lot of shit leading up to this fight, joking around, saying it wasn't going to be good. It ended up being a banger. So I was glad that it ended up, delivering. And I was wrong on thinking it might have been a little bit of a snoozer. Rosa did some serious damage to Pannie Kianzad. Busted her face open, ripped her up with leg kicks. Kianzad looked like she was going to get stopped at the end of the 2nd round. But Kianzad is pretty tough. She just doesn't have the skills for a girl like Rosa. Rosa's in a good position. I feel like the bantamweight division is wide open. She gets another 2 wins together, especially at the young age of 29. She can put herself in the title picture. And she did real good here, dominating Pannie Kianzad for 3 rounds. So breakout performance, excellent low kicks, precise boxing, and overall just a brutal win. Some nice elbows. Rosa likes those elbows a lot. She cut Kianzad open. Next fight started off our main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. I got to pop out the Zin real quick. Toshiami Kazama, he won. Charalampos Grigoriou got completely fraud checked in this fight. Kazama came out like a bat out of hell, sprinting at Grigoriou, trying to wrestle him up. And he got good control position against the cage. Grigoriou just seems like he wasn't ready for a high-paced grappling fight like that. And then the, controversial knee. Grigoriou's hand was down, and Kazama hit him with a knee, but it looked like his hand was coming up when it landed, halted the fight for a few minutes. And Grigoriou and Kazama, they took their breaks. I actually think it was worse for Grigoriou because now Kazama had a full gas tank reset, and he was on the takedowns again. And Grigoriou didn't really have an answer. But round 2 kicks off, and Grigoriou's striking is flowing, absolutely destroying Kazama on the feet, who I have said has horrible defense, and it definitely got reaffirmed in this fight. Kazama is an absolute suspect striker. Grigoriou drops him. It looks like he has the fight. Grigoriou come back after a bad first round, big ground and pound, right? He's following up, but it's like, okay, now Kazama's looking to engage in the guard. He's recovering a bit. All right, Grigoriou, let him back up. No, Grigoriou's gassed out, staying in the guard, keeps his head down and just holds him and lets Kazama triangle the fuck out of him. Horrible performance. It's a cut-worthy performance. I believe Grigoriou's getting released from the UFC because of it. Kazama saves his UFC career with a triangle. I'm telling you, if Grigoriou would not have followed him to the ground and would have let him stand up, Grigoriou would have knocked him out. But instead, he follows him to the ground, plays the grappling game, ends up gassing, laying on top of him, and gets triangled. Slick triangle by Kazama. I'm not trying to take anything away, but abysmal fight IQ move by Grigoriou. I seriously will tell you, if we ran this thing back, we delete the first fight, and Grigoriou just said, fuck it, I'm not following him to the ground, he's knocking Kazama out. But instead, he goes to Kazama's world, which is the jiu-jitsu, and he gets triangled. Yeah, that was pretty rough. Good win for Kazama, though. Keeps his UFC career alive. Grigoriou cannot say the same. Next fight on the card, ladies went after it. Yana Santos, Chelsea Chandler. Chelsea Chandler didn't look like she wanted to be there. I mean, at the weigh-ins, we saw it. She looked in horrible condition, the worst physique from her ever. She came in way over the limit. It seemed like she really wasn't disciplined or dialed into this fight in camp. I was joking around saying she looks like one of those Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru workers, and she fought like one too. Yana Santos absolutely tore her apart, out-kickboxed her, fought off any grappling attacks. Chandler had some decent punches. I mean, she's not awful, but Yana Santos hadn't won a fight in a long-ass time. And her last fight that she won was against Ketlen Vieira by controversial decision. Now, she gets a legit win against Chelsea Chandler. She looks slick on the feet. She looked fast. I mean, Yana Santos looked world-class in this matchup. I don't know how far Santos is taking it, but I'll tell you this. It's good to see her get a W. She said she wasn't breastfeeding leading up to this fight. She also looked way more physically fit than she has in years, and it was an outstanding win for the Santos family. Her husband, Thiago Santos, has been on an L streak. So for the fam, I'm happy they got a W. Good win for Yana Santos. Picked apart Chelsea Chandler and snapped a 3-fight losing streak in the process. Next fight, Chris Gutierrez, Quang Le. Gutierrez almost sold, man. First round, Gutierrez striking is working for him. His typical tap-tap move style. Because Gutierrez is a point fighter. Second round, Quang Le gets grappling control. Has his back. Gutierrez in uncomfortable spots. Quang Le ends up on top of him. Like, now we're worried. It's like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Quang Le wrestling him. Even in the first round, wasn't Gutierrez double-legged, and then he got up and started doing damage on the feet with the low kicks and the jab? Third round, Gutierrez had a great round, and he definitely won the third round, securing him the fight. But sketchy second round where he had his back taken, and it looked like he was on his way to selling. Then he was letting the flow go, and in round number 3, he did a lot of damage to the leg of Quang Le. It seemed like Quang was essentially gone in round 3, and those jabs were starting to land nicely. Gutierrez definitely got comfortable late, and then he tries to throw up a horrible flying triangle attempt with like 7 seconds left, and he ends up finishing the fight on his back. Still definitely won, but super questionable fight IQ move. Gutierrez sometimes just sells himself out. You imagine Quang Le just lands the perfect punch and would have chinned him with a second left. But no, Gutierrez gets the rightful win. Close fight, but still a clear win for Gutierrez, a 29-28 against now the 8-1 Quang Le, who's still a decent prospect. It's not a bad debut showing. Gutierrez, you know, he fights to his opponent's level, man. That's the simple truth. He's good at beating his opponents by just enough. Whatever's just needed enough. And he did that here against Quang. Let's jump to the next fight. Our featured bout of the night. It was Danny Barlow versus Nikolai Veretennikov. So, for some of you guys, this one was controversial. I saw people in the live chat saying that they felt like this was a bad decision, but majority agreed with Barlow winning. I know some people were upset. They thought Veretennikov got it. How I scored it. First round, Danny Barlow was clearly ahead with the boxing, landing more significant strikes and seemed to have the edge. Second round, more of the same, competitive moments. I feel like it was definitely still Barlow's round, even though it got a little bit sloppy with the low shot and then I believe the accidental eye poke, if I'm not mistaken. But ultimately, I might be mixing up the low shot from the Chepe fight, to be honest. But ultimately, either way, second round was a little clunky. It was still Barlow's round. He landed some big punches, and even though Veretennikov put a little pressure on him late, I still think Barlow 100% did enough damage to secure the second. Now, the third round was Veretenikov's. He landed some big punches. Danny Barlow looked incredibly uncomfortable, too. And I feel like Veretennikov was starting to come on strong. If it's a 5-round fight, who knows how it ends up going. But I thought Barlow did enough to escape with a 29-28 decision. I will say Barlow does have a bad habit of when he's tired, he starts slapping his punches. If you notice, he slaps that left hand instead of throwing it like a stick. He's more throwing it like a damn baseball. And it's a bad habit because as you're slapping that shot, it's not going to have near the same effectiveness as a stiff, fast, straight right to the dome. And he got caught by some good punches, but Barlow does have a decent chin. Veretennikov didn't do enough damage to steal the fight, though, but he definitely won the third and final round. When they went to the scorecards, it was a split decision. 2 judges had it for Barlow, 29-28, but 1 judge had a 30-27 Veretennikov. I don't even know how you get that scorecard. That makes no sense to me. I think 29-28 Veretennikov is a bad card, but 30-27 is completely diluted. The first round was clearly Barlow's. The second round was definitely Barlow's, but maybe with all the interruptions in the action, you could give the judge a little bit of an excuse for scoring the round Veretennikov. But I don't know how the hell a 30-27 Veretennikov card even got out. I don't know which judge that was. I'm not going to look into it. It's fine, but be very concerned because some of these decisions, man, they go the wrong way with judging like that. That would have been abysmal. A 30-27 Veretennikov is a delusional card. Danny Barlow still secures a W for himself, beats a game Veretennikov, but slow your roll a little bit. He said he's got to get surgery on his arm because he broke it in his last fight with Quinlan. Hopefully he comes back better. He's a good fighter. He's good. I don't know about elite, but he's got some potential. I don't know. He got tested a bit, but also Veretennikov is UFC level for sure. Co-main event, Chepe Mariscal, Damon Jackson. Listen, Chepe Mariscal beat Damon Jackson's ass in this fight. Chepe Mariscal looked awesome. I thought he got a clear-cut 30-27. Like, competitive moments because Damon Jackson is dog tough, but Chepe did more damage throughout. Chepe's judo was looking nice. He got a few throws in there on Damon Jackson, landing big ground and pound shots to finish out the second round, big ground and pound shots to finish out the third. He finishes the fight in full mount. I'll be honest, if he would have just went ballistic with ground and pound in that third round, he probably could have got a stoppage because Damon Jackson's body language was horrible, and the referee, Jason Herzog, was taking a close watch, man. He was thinking about breaking it up. I don't know, decent fight. Chepe's hands look good. It was a good fight, actually. Not decent. I'm underrating it. It was a good fight. Chepe's hands were powerful. He threw nice hooks. He landed some nice elbows. His judo looked real good in the fight. His ground and pound was on point. He just threw way more than Jackson. Like, as they're in wrestling positions, if Chepe is in a dominant position, he's dropping a ton of ground and pound, whereas Damon Jackson is more trying to win the positional battle or just survive. Jackson, a lot of the time, got out-wrestled and out-scrambled here by Chepe, and overall, it was a pretty dope win for Chepe Mariscal because Jackson's a relatively good wrestler, and the fact that Chepe was out-wrestling him, it definitely pulled back the narrative that Chepe's wrestling is kind of overrated after the Morgan Charrier fight. Or it shows Morgan Charrier is actually pretty damn good because he had Chepe in some bad spots in the ground. Jackson never had him in bad spots. Granted, Chepe weighed in at 149.5. He came in over the 146 limit by nearly 4 pounds. Definitely not a good look. Sacrificed some of his purse too. But still a really fun guy at 145. I doubt they're going to force him to move up. We don't know the exact issue that caused him to miss the weight as bad as he did. But I think altogether, Chepe Mariscal, fun style. Nate Landwehr and him would be a dope fight. There's so many dope fights you can make for Chepe. So I think the UFC needs to take advantage of a guy who is non-stop action and has a badass gas tank and give him some absolute dog fights. And I like the Nate Landwehr fight a ton. For Damon Jackson, I mean, he's going to stick around if he wants to, but he took a ton of damage in this fight. He was beaten up pretty bad at the end of it. Good win for Chepe. Next fight, our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. This one was quick. Serghei, Spivac, Marcin, Tybura. But I might as well paint the picture. Fight starts off, a little bit of striking early on. Spivac engages in the clinch, drags Tybura to the ground. Tybura scrambles for a switch single leg, drops Spivac onto his back, ends up getting on top of Spivac. Actually, I think Spivac, Tybura switched to the single. Spivac then looked for back control. Tybura baited him, spinned him out, ended up in full guard. It kind of was starting to look like the first fight. Tybura was planted on top of Spivac in full guard. You can tell Spivac is like working hard to try and find an arm, but in your mind, you're like, yo, it's heavyweight. Who's hitting an arm bar from guard? I guess Serghei Spivac is. Gets the arm, absolute badass transition, ends up fucking locking an arm bar in, badass reversal. It ends up being a belly down arm bar. And was it belly down? I don't think it was belly down. Might not have been. I'm trying to see it in my head after it happens, guys. You know how it goes after you see the fights. Either way, Spivac locks in a beautiful arm bar on Marcin Tybura. Tybura, he can't even really tap. He verbally taps because both of his arms are like locked in. And Spivac puts him out in round 1 by submission. 1 minute 44 seconds in. Armbar. It was a huge win. And after the fight, of course, Serghei Spivac said a lot. I like fighting. That's what he said after. Who do you want to fight next? Hey, fight. I'm good. He doesn't say much. Serghei, do you want to fight somebody in the top 5? I'm best world. He doesn't say much. You can't even hear him. I'll be honest. I'm talking louder than him. Serghei Spivac. He's like, hey, I want to fight somebody. No. He whispers into the mic. You can't hear him. Granted, he's not even speaking English, but I don't know how the translator was hearing him. We sure that he was even saying anything? You sure the translator wasn't making it up? I think he should have called out Jailton Almeida. I think that's a cool fight. Battle of good grapplers. Spivac strong. Almeida obviously slick. I think it'd be a cool jiu-jitsu clash, man. But for Spivac, I'm telling you, this was a massive win. They're 1-1 against one another. I highly doubt we see an immediate rematch, though. I'll tell you that much. But Spivac, he got him handed easy. He handled him easily. I just wish you would call somebody out, say a little more. Spivac's shy, man. I was weirded out that he came in at 238, but granted, he said he didn't train really 3 weeks leading up to the fight because he was dealing with an injury. So that could be why the weight came in low, because maybe he was still doing cardio, but he wasn't pushing it at all, or maybe he wasn't eating as much. I don't know. 238 was suspect, but it didn't matter because he had a badass armbar, and he ends up getting Tybura out of there in, 1 minute 44 seconds. So big W for Spivac. Very happy with his win. The jiu-jitsu looked incredibly slick. UFC Vegas 95 was a decent card. It wasn't bad. It was decent for sure. I mean, you know how the Apex cards can go. Main event, we're going to go over the picks. I won with Spivac as the lock of the week over Tybura. Perfect prediction there. And then won with Chepe over Jackson. Won with Barlow over Veretennikov. Won with Gutierrez over Quang. Lost with Chelsea Chandler, but I knew I should have flipped it after weigh-ins. It's not an excuse. I'm just telling you. After weigh-ins, I told you I lost all confidence. Took an L there. Lost with Grigoriou to Kazama. I don't know. Grigoriou sold, bro. Holy shit. One with Rosa over Kianzad. One with Diniz as a dog over Williams. One with Zalal over Errens. Called that sub. And then lost with Alencar over Luciano. But you know what? I knew it was going long. So overall, 7 wins and 3 losses on the card. I'm not mad about that. I'm really not mad about that at all. 7-3 is pretty good. And I feel solid this week, especially finishing it off with the Spivac Dubski. I hope you guys enjoyed the content throughout the week. This was the weigh-in recap show. This was the recap show for UFC Vegas 95. I'm already thinking ahead. What I was going to say is I have on Monday the Contender Series full card predictions and weigh-in recap show, so make sure you watch that. I also have the Contender Series Fight Companion on Tuesday. Obviously, tomorrow, Sunday, full card UFC 305 picks, and I'm going to be doing content all week long for UFC 305, plus the daily live stream. So keep it locked in on the channel. I appreciate everybody for supporting. If you haven't yet, smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe it up. And if you really like the content, share the video and turn the post notifications on so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. And if you got nothing to say, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Peace out, everybody. I'll see you all in the next one.